What if every single detail of your life, your destiny, your health, even your very mind, was ruthlessly shaped before you even drew your first breath? Not by chance, but by obsession. The chilling obsession of generations before you, desperate to keep their bloodline pure. For centuries, the grandest royal families across the globe made a horrifying trade: genetic risk for absolute political power. The result? Shattered minds, grotesquely broken bodies, and family trees twisted beyond recognition, resembling tangled knots more than proud lineages. Today, we're about to unearth the devastating, the unbelievable, and sometimes the truly unsettling stories of history's most inbred women. Behind the dazzling crowns and flowing royal veils, the price of blue blood was paid with unimaginable suffering. And believe me, by the time we hit number 1, your jaw will drop. If you're ready to dig up the darkest secrets of royalty and confront truths history books rarely spill, slam that like button right now, subscribe to our channel immediately, and join our legion of past explorers. Get ready, because what you're about to see will change how you view history forever. Kicking off our countdown at number 10, we find Isabella II of Spain, who ruled from 1833 to 1868. A monarch whose life, though lived amidst royal splendor, was relentlessly scarred by the grim cost of generations of inbred marriages. Born in 1830, Isabella's arrival as a daughter was strangely welcomed after her father's long, desperate hope for a male heir. But the joy wouldn't last. From the very beginning, Isabella's health and that of her sister raised quiet concerns in the palace corridors. And it's no surprise, her birth was the result of a union between an uncle and his niece. And the family tree gets even wilder. Her maternal and paternal grandparents were, at the same time, her great-grandparents on the other side. A true labyrinth of lineage that defies common understanding. At just 16, Isabella was handed over in marriage to her double second cousin, a twisted genetic knot. She would bear 11 children, yet only 5 lived past infancy, a grim statistic echoing profound genetic frailties. And here's where things get even more complicated. Many historians argue that her own husband fathered none of those surviving children, hinting at a web of royal secrets and perhaps a private life of quiet tragedy. In the end, Isabella lost her crown, but her legacy remains, a haunting testament to her family's genetic entrapment. At number 9, we encounter Marie-Louise of Austria, born into one of Europe's most deeply entangled dynasties, the Habsburgs. Her parents were double first cousins, meaning they shared both sets of grandparents in a family where cousin marriages were the rule, not the exception. Tragedy was a frequent visitor. Out of 12 children, only 7 lived into adulthood. The sheer intensity of inbreeding in her lineage is, to today's scientists, staggering. Marie-Louise, genetically speaking, had only 4 unique great-grandparents, half the normal number. That's the kind of genetic compression scientists today only see in highly isolated populations. At 18, Marie-Louise was handed over in marriage to none other than Napoleon Bonaparte, her father's arch-enemy. It was a cold political strategy, a desperate attempt at peace, and a calculated move to secure a male heir for her dynasty. For Marie-Louise, it was also the crushing weight of an empire placed squarely on her young shoulders, a burden she would carry with quiet melancholy. At number 8, we jump from opulent royal palaces to the stark realities of a small American town. The story of Lorraine Whitaker proves that the legacy of extreme inbreeding isn't ancient history. It's a shadow still echoing in modern times. Featured in a well-known documentary, the Whitaker family became a chilling case study in what happens when generations of isolation and intermarriage are left unchecked. Lorraine stands out as a particularly poignant figure, documented as one of the most inbred individuals in recent memory. She is also the mother of Timmy Whittaker, often regarded as possibly the most genetically affected person alive today. Their story is unsettling, not for shock value, but for the stark reminder this isn't just royal history, it's a human one, repeating itself in hidden corners of our world. Coming in at number 7 is Maria I of Portugal, known by some as Maria the Pious, though others might argue Maria the Troubled is more fitting. Born in 1734, Maria's life was one of mounting mental strain and a bloodline packed with royal unions far too close for comfort. Her parents, King Joseph I of Portugal and Maria Anna of Spain, were the 16th Iberian royal couple joined by close intermarriage, and the family saga didn't end there. Maria herself, under immense pressure to maintain the family name, made a decision that sealed her legacy. She married her own uncle. The results were as tragic as they were predictable. Half of her children didn't survive, with genetic complications likely playing a major role. And as she aged, Maria's mental state steadily deteriorated until she was ultimately deemed unfit to rule. Her story is one of royalty undone, not by war or rebellion, but by the invisible, insidious toll of genetic repetition. The burden of inbreeding, a persistent shadow in her dynasty, manifested profoundly in her health and her ability to lead, leaving a legacy of quiet suffering. Could the obsession with pure blood have been the greatest weakness of many dynasties? Where would you draw the line between political necessity and genetic cruelty? Sound off in the comments below. Number 6 brings us to the heartbreaking saga of Marie-Louise Elisabeth d'Orléans, a woman whose entire life reads like a Gothic novel, written in blood and sorrow. Born into a deeply dysfunctional royal arrangement, her father was forced to marry his own cousin, an illegitimate daughter of King Louis XIV. As the eldest surviving child of that union, Marie-Louise had no real choice in her future. She was married off, again, to yet another cousin, Prince Charles of Berry. The results were devastating: 3 children, none of whom survived childhood. Whether it was the overwhelming weight of inbreeding or some other cruel curse of circumstance, history can't say for sure. What we do know is that Marie-Louise turned to alcohol at an astonishingly young age, with reports indicating it began as early as 14. Was it a desperate cry for help, or a way to cope with the heavy hand dealt to her by fate? Either way, her legacy is a tragic tale of dynastic duty gone horribly wrong, a somber reminder of the dangers of prioritizing blood over well-being. At number 5, we turn to a lesser-known but deeply fascinating royal figure, Princess Alexia of Greece, born in 1965. Her story bridges the fading tradition of royal unions and the lasting echoes of aristocratic inbreeding. She and her 4 siblings came from one of the last significant royal marriages between a sitting king and a royal princess. But there was more to this union than romantic headlines. Her parents, Queen Anne-Marie of Denmark and King Constantine II of Greece, weren't just royal. They were closely related, not once but twice over. They were second cousins and third cousins, creating a double bond that was as political as it was personal. Their family trees, knotted and heavy, told a clear story of genetic repetition. Constantine's great-grandparents were siblings of one of his grandmothers, and Anne-Marie's ancestry carried its own tangled legacy. Though their marriage appeared loving, their close genetic ties ensured that their children, including Alexia, were partially inbred, much like the famously related British royals Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. A modern royal tale rooted in a very old tradition and its silent consequences. Taking the 4th spot is someone whose name rarely gets mentioned, despite her staggering genetic legacy, Maria Antonia of Austria, a Habsburg who, incredibly, surpassed even her infamous uncle, Charles II of Spain, in terms of inbreeding. While Charles is often cited as the ultimate example of the Habsburgs' genetic downfall, Maria Antonia's family tree makes his look simple. Her ancestry wasn't a tree at all. It was more like a dense, intricate looping vine, a tangle of repeated names and repeated marriages. Some have gone as far as calling it a genetic circle rather than a lineage. At number 2, we move from pharaohs and palaces to a modern, deeply disturbing case, Kimberly K. This isn't a royal tale, but it carries some of the darkest consequences of unchecked inbreeding in recent history. Kimberly's story comes from Australia, where her family, known publicly under a pseudonym, became the center of one of the most shocking genetic and legal revelations of the early 2000s. Living in profound isolation, the K family practiced multi-generational inbreeding, creating a closed-loop community with almost no outside genetic input. When the truth finally came to light, authorities intervened, uncovering a disturbing and complex web that led to multiple police investigations and arrests. Kimberly, born into this environment, is one of the most genetically compromised individuals ever documented. Her case isn't about royal pressure or dynastic pride. It's a modern, stark example of how isolation and a lack of oversight can produce an unimaginable human cost, a silent tragedy echoing the burden of royal lineage. And now, at the very top of the list, Cleopatra turned Philopatra, the woman who, more than any other, embodied the full brutal force of calculated inbreeding for political power. Forget the romanticized version of Cleopatra often shown in films. This Cleopatra was not a fantasy figure, but the very personification of dynastic obsession. Though Egyptian by rule, her bloodline was purely Greco-Macedonian, born from the Ptolemaic dynasty, which relentlessly practiced brother-sister and uncle-niece marriages to keep power concentrated and pure. Cleopatra the Q's parents were siblings, her grandparents were also siblings, and her own siblings married each other before she eventually ruled alone. She was a living monument to the strategy of bloodline preservation, powerful yet heavily burdened by the genetic cost. Even her name, borrowed from a rare Syrian princess, was one of the few hints that any outsider had ever been permitted into the family tree. Cleopatra II wasn't just a royal figure. She was the genetic culmination of generations of tightly woven lineage, a powerful ruler whose biology carried the heavy weight of a family's cold, calculated ambition. From majestic courts to forgotten villages, from glittering crowns to remote isolation, the desperate pursuit of purity, of blood, power, and legacy has twisted the stories of these women into tales of tragedy, resilience, and stark revelation. Their lives remind us how history is often shaped not just by politics or war, but by the invisible, relentless hands of biology and blood. It's a somber reflection on the ultimate, devastating cost of absolute power. The debate surrounding historical inbreeding continues to fascinate academics and online communities alike, from Reddit threads to historical forums. How truly aware were these families of the genetic risks they were taking? Did political ambition truly justify such immense human suffering? And how do we, as modern observers, truly reconcile our values with a past so utterly alien, so often disturbing to our own? These stories challenge us to look beyond the glittering splendor and confront the darkest side of royal inheritance. If this journey through the chilling realities of royal inbreeding left you questioning everything you thought you knew about history, then make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel for more raw, unfiltered historical truths, and share this video with friends who dare to question the past. What other historical taboos should we unravel next? Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments below. We're always listening.